to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees are able to win 3 of 4 at the Kansas City Royals. Unfortunately, though, they do lose the last game of the series in kind of tough fashion. So, again, it's one of those things like when, you happen to be recording is kind of like the mood of the episode a little bit. And, again, overall, these are series recaps. So to win 3 of 4, as I said in the previous episode, that is an absolute success against what is a pretty good Kansas City team. Do I think that they'll make the playoffs when it's all said and done? I would tend to think probably not, but they've been really good. I mean, they came into the series 12 games over 500, but it's just tough. That last game, it was a 9th inning blown lead. Clay Holmes was on the mound, and really the one big play that comes to mind was it was a combination of Rizzo and Holmes' fault. And with Rizzo, I will say the offense, as the series moved along, got better. I mean, it's been a bad year for Rizzo, but the defense, which has also not been bad lately, just too many plays where there's just not even indecision, just laying back and being too passive at first, where if he just charges the ball, then it gives you a better chance. Now, I'm not saying that they would have gotten the out, but for him to just stay back does you no good. Holmes could have easily picked it up and gotten the out at first. So, blame goes to both sides, but that was really a big play in the inning. And then also, it didn't help that Holmes, on an 0-2 pitch to Kyle Isbell, didn't get the strike call. But to be fair, as I said numerous times before, Clay Holmes has gotten the benefit of a lot of called strikes that were outside the strike zone. So, hey, that happens. But Holmes should have been able to close it out. And as good as Holmes has been, I think when I think about this Yankee team, they need to definitely acquire legitimate bullpen arms. And I know that I like the bullpen as a whole. They're all pretty quality. And you also have guys that are out right now that could make an impact later on. Like Scott Efros comes to mind as someone who maybe, as the season progresses, could come in there and be a high leverage reliever. But I think it's imperative, Clay Holmes is your closer. But to have someone that is really kind of like a 1A, 1B, where this is somewhat of a Holmes discussion, but and also just a bullpen discussion. I think when you go to the trade deadline, look, you can never have enough starting pitching, but the Yankees are in a pretty good place starting pitching-wise. So if they didn't do anything with that, I wouldn't blame them, honestly. But to me, from the pitching standpoint, it's that bullpen. And how do you feel about Clay Holmes? Can he be your legitimate, no doubt closer in winning a World Series? Maybe he can, especially in this day and age of baseball where you don't really have many set closers. A lot of it is by committee, and a lot of it is, and you do end up having starters. That's the thing too. You're going to have starters that are going to end up in the bullpen and probably have a key role. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling that I don't know. I would want to have some sort of backup plan if possible. Someone that can really step in and can get you that save, or just can strengthen the depth within the bullpen. So it's something that comes to mind, and it's not really fair necessarily because Clay Holmes, look, he's very likely to be headed to the All-Star game. He's been very good. I don't know. It's just a feeling. It's just a gut feeling. And for Rizzo, despite the fact that the end of the series was better, it's really been just a disaster of a season for Anthony Rizzo. No way around it. And really, ever since that concussion sustained last year, he just hasn't been the same player. I don't feel great about him. On the offensive side of things, I hope it turns around. Maybe this is the beginning of that happening. But then defensively, it's he has made some good plays of late, but it has not been good. And it's not even the errors. It's beyond the stats. It's the eye test, and it's just too many plays at first are not being converted that absolutely should be converted. But let's push that all to the side because again, they did win 3 out of 4. I'm not thrilled about the way that game ended, but at the same time, it's been a success for the Yanks, and so their record's at 49-22, which is technically, by percentage points, the best in baseball. As I'm recording, the Phillies are playing the Red Sox. So depending on that result would determine if the Phillies win, they would then bump ahead of the Yanks. If they lose, then they'd be further behind the Yankees. But the Phillies are actually ahead in the loss column. They've played a lot less games. The Yankees have played a lot more games than most. And as far as the Yankees-Orioles is concerned, the Yankees are 2.5 games up on the Orioles, but only one on the loss side. So those are really, the Orioles are the main team to look at. But if you want to look at just Major League Baseball, of course, the Phillies and the Yankees are kind of jockeying for position as far as the number one team in the league currently. But there's a lot of baseball to go, a lot of season to go, 71 games through. And so you're not even at the halfway point yet. But Juan Soto returns, and that was good to see. And he returned. The first game was DH, but then the next 3 were in right field. So hopefully this is behind him. In my mind, it's still not. Like, I still think that there's hurdles to go for us to really be like, oh, right, like he had that injury. It's still too soon. But Soto didn't really look any worse for wear. Like, sure, he didn't homer in this series, but he got on base a bunch. Had what could have been and should have been really the game-winning RBI single in the 8th inning in Game 4. So there was that. Aaron Judge, unfortunately, his on-base streak comes to an end. I believe it sat at 37. And the last game of the series, he ends up going 0 for 4 strikeouts. So Judge did not play the first game. They gave him the night off. Game 2, he has another great game. He homers. But then, for him, he took a dip. And really, Game 4 was actually pretty ugly. He really should have extended that on-base streak. He had a situation in the 7th inning where he absolutely should have walked and didn't. So again, not going to be too hard on Judge. He's been otherworldly, but he can be a bit streaky, and you wonder. And look, maybe I'll be feeling foolish for even saying this after the Red Sox series, but hey, he really did not. He looked very off in that last game, to the point where could this be the beginning of maybe things turning to a cold streak? But we'll see. Hopefully not. I'm trying to think if there were any transactions of real note. I don't believe there was. Again, Marinaccio is on the roster. Dennis Santana actually was claimed off waivers by the Pittsburgh Pirates. I kind of suspected that another team might give him a shot, and there you go. So he's on the Pirates. But yeah, Garrett Cole, he's closer. He's at least one rehab start away. So I think we're going to see Garrett Cole in probably a week to 2 weeks at most. We will see Garrett Cole pitching with the big club with the New York Yankees. So let's jump right into it with this series. Yankees at the Royals. Again, Kansas City has really been one of the surprises in baseball. They've been very good. And one of the big reasons for that is Seth Lugo, the former Met, who was most recently with the Padres, but the Yankees were able to get to him. Now, Lugo hung in there and actually ended up giving the Royals 7 innings of 4-run ball, 8 hits allowed, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. But Lugo was 9-1 coming into this, and has really been one of the best pitchers in the game. So he ends up losing. And for the Yankees, it was Carlos Rodon, who continues to just be very consistent, very sharp. He's 9-2 himself after this win. So 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, no walks, 3 strikeouts. So you know what? With Rodon, you don't always need the strikeouts. He only gets 3, but that's okay. Not a huge deal. And so Rodon, his ERA drops below 3. It's 2.93. And so when you think about a potential, I haven't really given it a good hard look, but could Carlos Rodon make an all-star appearance? It's possible, right? I mean, to me, Luis Hill is an automatic, but Carlos Rodon, hey, the numbers are more than solid. I mean, the win-loss record 9-2 really pops out. But he's just been so consistent, and that's been great to see. Honestly, I think his last bad start was probably against the Orioles, which was at this point over a month ago. So it's been good for a while now for Rodon, which has been great to see. And so the Yankee lineup was different. No Judge, no Stanton, no Rizzo in this Game 1 lineup. So at Soto DH. So you actually had Jahmai Jones starting in right field, which was interesting. But yeah, definitely, Torres batting 3rd, LeMahieu batting 5th, Jahmai Jones batting 7th. It was not your prototypical Yankee lineup, but yet they played a lot of small ball. They really did. There was a lot of bunting. There was actually 3 sacrifice bunts. And so that helped them win this game. And so that's good to make that, was it maybe just coincidental that Aaron Judge wasn't in the lineup and they played a different brand of baseball? I don't know, but it worked. And, that was good to see. So the Yankees jump out to an early lead. And it was Soto who actually singles in his first at-bat back. Then Gleyber gets a single. Then it's a RBI single for Alex Verdugo to give the Yankees a 1-0 lead. And then DJ LeMahieu with the safety squeeze that's successful, where he is thrown out at first, but Gleyber Torres scores from 3rd. So that was, again, as a fan, it's always fun to see that work out. And a lot of the times it does. And so smart by LeMahieu, who, look, like, he had some okay moments in this series, but, I think he comes out of it with some pretty ugly looking overall stats. And it's just, for him to contribute in that way, you'll take it. So the Yankees take a 2-0 lead there. Let's jump to the fourth. And this is where LeMahieu singles with one out, then Trent Grisham's hit by a pitch, and then Jahmai Jones with a sac. But it was considered a sac bunt. Honestly, I think he was bunting for a hit, so this was probably improperly called. But a big 2-out, 2-run single for Jose Trevino. And the Yankees got really good production from the catcher position this series between Trevino and Wells. But Trevino just really has been very clutch, and he's looking like his his first half of the 2022 season self. So that gives the Yankees a 4-0 lead right there. They wouldn't score again, and it was all they would need. Like I said, Rodon ends up going 7 strong, which was great. And again, I'm going to go through the series. There might be some things I missed along the way, but going to try to catch everything as much as I can. And then in the 8th inning, Ian Hamilton comes on. And for Hamilton, I continue to say, and it's just been a struggle, is what I'll say. Like, it hasn't been completely awful, but I just think after a really good first few weeks he had, it's just ultimately – it's not the same pitcher we saw last season. And so I don't think his roster spot is in jeopardy, but just on the depth chart, I do think he's been kind of slowly moving down that depth chart. And Hamilton gets into a little bit of trouble in this one. He wasn't really hit overly hard, but ultimately what happens is you get a 2-out RBI double by Bobby Witt. Now, Bobby Witt's one of the best players in the game, so no shame there, but it makes it 4-2. And to be fair, Hamilton did strike out the side. So this outing was not awful. It really wasn't, but so it's 4-2. We go to the 9th inning, and an interesting decision where Aaron Boone goes to Michael Tonkin, who actually he had a lot of work recently, and they could have went to Tonkin or Canely, and they go to Tonkin. I can't say I completely disagree with that. Canely has not looked great since returning, and Tonkin's been really good as a Yankee, especially lately. And I know that Canely, in theory, may have the stomach, not literally speaking, for the 9th inning, whereas Tonkin, he's only had one career save, and that was with the Braves last season. But Tonkin got in a little bit of trouble, but gets the job done ultimately. He gets a strikeout to start, and then Nick Lofton walks, and that's dangerous. You don't want that to happen. But then Pasquantino pinch hits for Furman and flies out, and then Melendez strikes out to end it. So a nice job by Michael Tonkin, who, again, has been just sensational as a Yankee and is really in that trust tree, is moving up that list. And I think we're seeing Tonkin pitching in high leverage spots. So the Yankees win that one 4-2. Then games 2 and 3, to me, have somewhat of a similar feel. Of course, nothing's ever going to be completely the same, but there are similarities, and these were wins that the Yankees won pretty easy, really in both cases. So game 2 was a matchup between Marcus Stroman and Brady Singer, and it was a good start for Marcus Stroman. Stroman ends up going 5 2/3, 4 hits, no runs, 3 walks and a strike, and only 1 strikeout. But again, that's okay. Like, strikeouts is not always the way. And by not striking guys out, it keeps you pitch efficient. Now, he ends up still throwing. That's the crazy thing, right? He only gets 1 strikeout, but get 102 pitches in 5 2/3 innings. And luckily, Ron Marinaccio came in and cleaned up the mess that was there. So a good job by Marinaccio. We'll talk about him a little bit more in this game, but Stroman improves to 6-2 with a 2.82 ERA. So he has been really solid lately as well. But for the Yankees, Judge returns to the lineup. Soto's back in right field for the first time in a bit. And so more of the lineup that you're accustomed to here. DJ LeMahieu would have a night off, and Oswaldo Cabrera would be at third base. So first inning, you get a leadoff triple by Volpe. Then after a Soto walk, it's an RBI single for Aaron Judge. So that makes it 1-0 Yanks. And then after a Verdugo ground out, you get Juan Soto scoring on a fielder's choice. So Giancarlo Stanton hits a ground ball to third baseman Michael Garcia. They try to get Soto out of home, but he was safe. And so that gives the Yankees a 2-0 lead. We go to the fourth, and the Yankees break it open in the fourth. Verdugo singles, Stanton hit by pitch. And then after a ground out by Rizzo that moves the runners over, Gleyber Torres gets an RBI single to give the Yankees a 3-0 lead. And then the big blow would come from Austin Wells. His second homer of the year. It's a 3-run homer to give the Yankees that 6-0 lead. And the ball was just carrying in Kansas City. It didn't, off the bat, I didn't think it was going to go out, but it did. So Austin Wells, who's had some bad luck at times, maybe that luck is turning around now for him. So it's 6-0 Yankees. Then in the 6th inning, the Yankees would add on another run. I believe it was an unearned run, actually. And at this point, Brady Singer was still in the game, actually. So he kind of gave Kansas City some, like, kind of somewhat like Lugo, where he didn't pitch great, but he actually did go 5 2/3, but 7 hits, 7 runs, 6 of them earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. But yeah, you do get an RBI single by Oswaldo Cabrera, and that would be off for Brady Singer. He would be done at that point. So it's 7-0 Yankees. In the top of the 7th, Aaron Judge does it again. After a Soto walk, Judge a 2-run homer, 25th homer of the year. Just ridiculous at this point, what he's doing. So 9-0 Yanks. And then Giancarlo Stanton, for good measure, he hits a fucking mammoth bomb, 446 feet to dead center field. And this was both off of Nick Anderson, who is having a little bit of a rough year with Kansas City. Not rough might be strong, but like, this is a good reliever. The Yankees are used to him from his days at the Rays. Nick Anderson had a good year last year at the Braves, so he's no slouch. So even though it was a blowout score, this was a legitimate pitcher that they hit these homers off of. So 10-0 Yankees. Then, and like I had said before, Marinaccio got out of a bases loaded 2-out jam with a strikeout, which was big. At the time, it was 7-0. But Marinaccio did pretty well. Now, he stayed in the game. Eventually he would allow a home run to Freddie Fermin in the bottom of the 8th. Furman's second homer of the year, and that would make the score 10-1. But overall, Marinaccio 2 1/3, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. So a good job by Ron. And then Victor Gonzalez pitches the 9th, allows a walk. So it's funny, his walk to strikeout ratio continues to not get better, but yet like a nice 2.84 ERA. He's not allowing that many hits, and so Gonzalez kind of just doing what he has to do. And so the Yankees win 10-1. Let's go to Game 3. So Game 3 would look like this. A pitching matchup between Cody Poteet, who, like I said, I'm pretty sure he actually was most recently in the Kansas City Royals organization. I think he mostly spent 2023 with them, I believe. And then the Royals pitcher, it was an opener situation. So Dan Altavilla was the opener, right-handed pitcher. And then it would be Daniel Lynch would come in, and he would be the bulk guy, and he would end up actually going 6 2/3. He didn't pitch well, but he did end up throwing, 95 pitches. So he actually, so the Royals did get some pretty good length from their starters/bulk guys in the series, if nothing else. So Yankees explode for 6 in the first inning. And Poteet, again, he does the job. And his line ends up, he kind of, I guess, runs out of a little bit of gas towards the end. So his final line is 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. But he did the job, and he's done a very nice job since Clark Schmidt got hurt of filling in and giving the Yankees more than representative outings. So, like I said, 6 runs in the first, and it would be a situation where you get bases loaded, no out. Stanton strikes out, unfortunately, but then Verdugo gets a 2-run single, makes it 2-0. After a Glaber walk, they take Altavilla out. Lynch comes in, lefty versus Rizzo. Rizzo hits a sac fly, and then Jose Trevino with the big blow. His 6th homer of the season. It's a 3-run shot. Gives the Yankees a 6-0 lead. So again, very familiar feel to the night before, except this was in the first inning. We go to the 5th, and off of Lynch, it would be a 2-run homer by Giancarlo Stanton. So Stanton, the homers continue. And look, that's good. Because, strikeouts is still a big part of his game. There's many limitations to Giancarlo Stanton, but he has been hitting home runs. 17 is a lot. I want to say he's probably about top 10 in the league in terms of at-bats per homers. So that makes it 8-0 Yanks. Then at the bottom of the 6th, this is where it was a combination of Poteet and Hamilton, where leadoff single Isbell, RBI double Bobby Witt makes it 8-1. Then a Pasquantino walk takes Poteet out of the game. Then Hamilton comes on. He walks Salvador Perez. Then it's a sac fly for Nelson Velasquez. Then a strikeout to end the inning. We go to the top of the 7th, and it would be a 2-out 3-run homer for Gleyber Torres. So good to see Gleyber showing some power. His 6th homer of the season makes it 11-2 Yankees. And then in the bottom of the 7th, with Hamilton still on, gets into some trouble with 2 outs. An Isbell single, a Garcia single, and a Bobby Witt single makes it 11-3. So Tommy Kahnle comes on, then Pasquantino singles. I think that was the play where Rizzo kind of messed up a bit. And then Salvador Perez with a walk. And on that last pitch, it was a wild pitch by Kahnle, makes it 11-5. And then luckily, Aaron Judge actually makes a very nice sliding catch on Nelson Velasquez. So a combination of Hamilton and Kahnle with 2 outs got them into some trouble, but luckily they're able to avoid disaster. And so it's 11-5. Then Luke Weaver comes on in the 8th, which he kind of didn't want in a 6-run game, but he comes on. He's able to pitch a scoreless 8th inning, and then the 9th inning with Clay Holmes warming up. Unfortunately, Caleb Ferguson gives up a couple of hits, but he ends it, and the Yankees win 11-5. Now let's go to that final 4th game of the series. And this one stings a bit, and it's the nature in which they lost it. And they had actually never had a 4-game series sweep at Kansas City. It's not easy to do. I mean, having a 4-game sweep, no less doing it on the road against a good team, that's not easy, and it was almost done. It was quite frankly, it was a strike away from being done. So the Yankees, it's funny, their record's so good, but yet they've had some pretty tough losses this year. I mean, it could honestly be even better than 49-22. So it would be Nestor. So a good story in this game is Nestor Cortez. 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Again, a low strikeout total. And what that tells me, without even part of it, Kansas City, without looking at the stats, Kansas City's probably a team that doesn't strike out a whole lot, would be something that I could surmise from looking at these pitching lines. But Cortez, it was good. Who he hasn't been great at points, but here was a very quality outing that really could have. It's for him. He's had bad luck in the win-loss column. I believe he's 3-5, and he does deserve better than that for sure. So this game would have Giancarlo Stanton to the bench. Trent Grisham would start in center field. I'm trying to think if there was anything else of note here. That was really the main thing. So, again, scoreless for a while. In fact, really good outing for Alec Marsh. He had a no-hitter through 6 innings and kind of looked good doing so. The Yankees, Soto would break up the no-hitter in the 7th inning. But before that, in the 4th, it would be Michael Garcia walking on 4 pitches to start the inning isn't what Nestor wanted to do. Then a single by Bobby Witt, and then an RBI 2-run double by Vinny Pasquantino to give the Royals a 2-0 lead. But Cortez would stop it at that. And like I said, Soto breaks up the no-hitter in the 7th against Marsh. A really bad at-bat by Judge where he should have absolutely walked and didn't. He ends up striking out, and Marsh gets out of that 7th inning. So we go to the 8th. And coming in is former Red Sox reliever John Schreiber. And Anthony Rizzo hits his first home run in I think maybe over a month. It's his 8th homer of the year, makes it 2-1. And the Yankees would keep it going from there. With 1 out, Austin Wells reaches on an error by the second baseman Garrett Hampson. Then Jahmai Jones pinch runs for Austin Wells. And on a full count with Jones running, Trent Grisham singles to make it first and third 1 out. So Grisham showing some signs of life offensively. And then on a full count, Anthony Volpe gets an RBI ground out. And, there was almost a balk that happened during this at-bat, but wasn't called on Schreiber, but they tie the game. And then the Royals bring out a lefty to face Soto. And what does he do? Because this is what Soto does. He gets an RBI single. Now, unfortunately, which I guess kind of may have proved costly, he ends up being thrown out at second, but he does give the Yankees the lead. Luke Weaver comes on for the 8th. Keep in mind, he pitched the night before, and Weaver gets the job done ultimately. There was a couple of walks to Witt and Pasquantino. So Salvador Perez is up, and this is a point where, you weren't sure. Were they going to go to Holmes for like a 5-out save? They stick with Weaver, and he gets Perez to fly out, and then he gets Velasquez to strike out looking. And to be fair, it's funny. That strike 3 was probably a ball on Velasquez, but still a very nice job by Luke Weaver, who has really been fantastic for the Yankees this year. Now Clay Holmes comes on. This is where the bad stuff happens. So with 1 out, Drew Waters is up, a left-handed hitter, and he hits a soft dribbler towards first base. And Clay Holmes could have just grabbed the ball. He could have and taken care of himself. He doesn't, but also Rizzo stands back, and it ends up being in no man's land, and he's safe. That ends up hurting. Now, look, we wouldn't be making such a big deal about this if the Yankees won. This is just, I wouldn't have even been making anything of it. Then MJ Melendez is a pinch hitter, grounds out. Nice play by Torres. He gets the lead runner, Waters, out at second. So now it leads you runner at first, 2 out. You're a strike away. It's 0-2. And unfortunately, Holmes does not get the call on the 0-2 pitch. So the bat continues. It ends up being full count, and Isbell lines a single up the middle. So now it's first and third, 2 out. And what hurt Clay Holmes is he falls behind Maikel Garcia 2-0, and then you get a Maikel Garcia down the third baseline. LeMahieu playing off the line. It's a 2-run walk-off double for Garcia. So that one stings. And that was their second loss this season when leading after 8. The other one was that Mariner game, I guess a few weeks back where they were at home. And so now, Holmes is not able to close this one out. So, yeah, that one stings a bit. It's not a huge deal. Yankees record is what it is, but, certainly would have felt a lot better if they had won. But they still win the series. They win 3 out of 4, and that's a good feat. And so now they will head to Boston to take on the Red Sox. And as I said, currently the Red Sox are finishing up a series with the Phillies. I wonder if the Friday game gets rained out in Boston. The forecast doesn't look great. And so if that does happen, expect a doubleheader either Saturday or Sunday. But as of now, it would be Luis Hill versus Brian Bello. He gave the Yankees last year's offense was dreadful, but I think he had some pretty good starts versus the Yankees last year. His numbers this year aren't great, and he hasn't been great lately. But we'll see. He's a young pitcher that I say, has a good amount of upside, so he'll be tough, but Luis Hill, it'll be interesting to see how he fares at Fenway Park, hoping that he continues his good stretch. And then Game 2 will be between Carlos Rodon for the Yanks and Cooper Criswell for the Red Sox. So don't think the Yankees have really seen much of him, to my knowledge, and this is his first year on the Sox, but he's been in maybe against the Rays. He's bounced around Criswell, but again, on paper, you think that it favors the Yankees. But looking at his numbers, he's done a nice job. He's been okay. So we'll see. And then Sunday Night Baseball will be Marcus Stroman against Carter Crawford. So Carter Crawford, he hasn't been as great lately, but his record's a little misleading. He's 2-6, but the numbers are better than that. Luckily for the Yankees, they missed Tanner Houck, who he's actually pitching tonight against the Phillies. He's been very good, so they're kind of fortunate to miss him. So you look at these pitching matchups, and I would say that they definitely mostly favor the Yankees. But the Red Sox, look, they're right in that playoff hunt. They're right around 500 on paper. Like, you wouldn't think that they would be where they are, but they've been pretty good. And at time, going to Fenway Park, especially in recent years, has not really been great for the Yankees. So this will be an interesting series. Plus, the Yankees against the division, if there's one thing that they haven't been great at, beyond just that Orioles series, they have not been so great against the AL East. And so I hope they can turn that around, as there will be a lot of divisional games coming their way. So again, a tough loss for the Yankees in Game 4 of this 4-game set against the Royals in Kansas City, but they do win the series 3 out of 4, as they will now head to Boston to take on the Red Sox for the first time this season.